This is Grandmaster Jose Gonzalez, and today I'm going to keep explaining the ins and outs of the Barry attack so you can add it to your repertoire and start playing it from today. So in case you haven't seen my first video on the Barry attack, I highly recommend you click here. And okay, without further ado, let's jump into Barry's attack, the Barry attack main line. Today I'm going to explain the main line, and I'm going to do it by analyzing two games of one of the most renowned specialists on the Barry attack. None other than Mark Hebden again. First of all, I'm going to show the game Hebden versus Nunn. And this game was played in 1996 in Hastings, in the famous Hastings tournament. And okay, let's start. d4, knight f6, knight f3, g6, knight c3. We are threatening e4, so most of our opponents will play d5, because after bishop g7, e4, they will be forced to play the Pirc, and most of them won't be Pirc players. So that would be a huge advantage for us. So after d5, bishop f4, and we arrive to the Barry. We are controlling e5, and the bishop here stops black from playing e5 in the future, and this is a nice square for the bishop. Of course, this looks like a unpretentious, not a fancy line, but as we have seen in the first video on the Barry, after these simple moves, in case black played b6, white would continue with knight e5, bishop b7, and h4. A little bit unexpected attack on the king side that turns out to be really effective. So this is the reason why most black players play c5. They want to attack our center, and it's like a warning signal against this kingside attack. So here we have three choices. Okay, mainly two, because two of them transpose into each other. Knight e5 is a move played by Mark Hebden. Castle is the other one that transposes to knight e5 in most occasions after knight c6, knight e5. And the most dynamic and really interesting, d takes e5. After knight e5, black, white places a very nice knight in the center, avoiding a possible knight h5. Knight c6, castle, c takes d4, e takes d4, and here we have a card structure. If the white knight is not here and we play c3, we will reach the card structure. In case you haven't seen my video about the card structure, the minority attack, and the central strategy, I recommend you do it, because the card structure is a most known pawn structure, and I cover it in my video. By the way, if you're liking the video, please let me know it by smashing the like, and why don't you subscribe to my channel today, so I can keep sharing with you these kind of ideas. So after queen b6, now b2 and d4 are hanging, so knight takes c6 is forced, and here b takes c6 was played. It's not the best. In the game Hebden versus Tukmakov, I will show queen takes c6, that is a little bit better. After b takes c6, white goes for c5, queen a5, and c3. So c5 is a nice square, so in which we can place our knight, and okay, we have a nice pawn structure, and the open e-file can also be a source of threats against black. So knight d7, controlling c5 and trying to play e5, b4, queen d8, and here we have plenty of moves. Hebden choose queen d2, that is really normal. All other moves are perhaps rook e1, or even the most we're looking rook c1. But okay, queen d2 is totally normal. e5, and here bishop h6. Instead of bishop h6, I was considering d takes e5, knight takes e5, and now rook 8 d1. This has a hidden idea. Okay, first of all, we remove the bishop from the long diagonal, and the idea is whenever black wants to play against our pawn, then we continue with b5, trying to weaken d5. Yeah, it seems a little bit better for white, and this was an interesting option. So instead, bishop h6 was played by Hebden, bishop takes h6, queen takes h6, and rook e8. Instead, e takes d4, c takes d4, and a5 was equalizing, almost equalizing. I guess b5 is almost forced, c takes b5, bishop takes b5, and bishop a6. And I see very little, but okay, perhaps this knight can reach c5 at some moment, and white can try to get some advantage, but it objectively might be equal. So after rook e8, rook e1, rook b8, Nunn is bringing his pieces and keeping the tension. This is understandable because he tries to outplay Mark Hebden. He's got a better rating at that moment, but objectively his position is not that great, so he should have equalized if he could. D takes e5. I like this move because after rook takes e5, queen d2, these two squares are nice for white pieces. The queen can reach to d4, and the knight will get to c5 in the appropriate moment, and I think this position is a little bit easier to play as white. So a5, bishop f1, and a takes b4. This is a bit, I don't know, I would prefer knight f8. Oh no, sorry, trading rooks. I was wandering the rook. Trading rooks and knight f8, I think is better. Keeping the tension. So at least in this case you don't give a post pawn immediately. But okay, it's understandable because he's trying to be an optimist. We think about the a post pawn, but he's got the d post pawn. So he's trying to build a unbalanced position to try to win, I guess. Queen f6, rook takes e5, knight takes e5. Now the trick on the long diagonal is there, so is forced to remove the rook, but at the same time we are ready to play knight c5 and a4. King g7, not I don't understand very well what he's up to. Knight c5, bishop f5, a3. Hebden is trying to build the position as strongly as possible, and wants this pawn to be protected. Other choices can be a4, for example. This is more optimistic, a more optimistic approach, so you can push the pawn. And of course we have to be careful with h3. That looks normal because we're playing a4, but perhaps bishop takes h3, it's a problem. I don't know, because we have both rook takes a and f4, so perhaps h3 is not that bad. But okay, who knows? a3 is normal. d4, a little trick. Nunn pushes his posed pawn. He tries to advance it as much as possible, and of course queen takes d4 is not possible because of knight f3, winning the queen. So he played f4, knight d7, knight takes d7, bishop takes d7, and rook e5. And all of a sudden the d pawn becomes weak. And now it's a difficult situation for John Nunn. He has got good drawing chances according to what I have analyzed, but in a practical game, those chances are tough to find. So he played c5. That is not the best. Queen d6 would have been better. After rook e4, sorry, c5, b takes e5, queen takes e5. Now the a3 pawn is threatened, and if we want to win a pawn, then taking on d4 is more or less force. And after bishop c6, I'm not sure white can claim an advantage in here, because this pawn has a lot of trouble to advance. Okay, if the pawn was an a6, white would have been winning, but it's tough to advance the pawn, and the black rook is coming in, and sometimes can even try to attack it by vertically. So I don't think this is an advantage. So the game was close from a draw, but he played c5, and after rook takes c5, bishop f5. Okay, at least in this way he preserved the pawn. Rook d5, and now again played d3. And rook d8 would have defend the pawn and get an inferior but holdable position perhaps. Rook takes d4, d8, sorry, and bishop d3 with a better position for white, but still pretty decent chances to fight for equality after h5. Okay, the game continued with d3, bishop takes d3, queen a1, bishop f1, and now of course the b pawn is too strong and the black king is weak. So this is winning for white, but the game is far from over. Queen d4, f6. I guess that playing king g8 would have been simply losing after these trades. Check again, and b5. And there's nothing what black can do to attack our king, and our b pawn is on the way to queening. So this explains this horrible f6. And here Hebden played for the attack. It felt nice, it felt like a good idea, but it turned out to be a bad idea. b5, simply b5 was much better, and black is lost. Okay, rook d6, queen takes b4, queen f6, and king h6. And it's not so clear how to take advantage of the bad situation of the king. Now f4 is hanging. Of course we can't capture in here because queen takes d6. And I don't know, it's not an easy task to attack this king. d7 is control, so we cannot play check and rook d7 because of the bishop. And I don't know. He played h3, and luckily for him, Nunn played queen takes f4, and after rook d4, queen e3, king h2. Now the rook joins the attack, and there is nothing black can do to survive. Okay, in this game we can see how we can start building our position, and without much theoretical knowledge we get a game. Let's see the next game, in which Mark Hebden faces the strong Vladimir Tukmakov in 2003. Now Tukmakov played queen takes c6. And okay, the structure remains the same. As I said before, this is a Carlsbad structure, but with the knight on c3, perhaps this knight will get out of there and we're going to play c3 in the future. But now bishop b5 is a useful way to harass the queen and open the line. The black's queen is not completely comfortable. And a4. White is playing in a way that is really logical. As we all know, on the Carlsbad variation, those pawns are supposed to advance. Here, this is a really tough thing to do. because the queen is in the way of the pawns, and we haven't played c3. So, but in the future this might be possible, and white wants to gain some space there to avoid this minority attack completely, and okay, to claim the majority, no? Because we have 4 pawns against, 4 pawns against 3 pawns. So black has got a majority in the queen side. Tough to create a passed pawn, but anyway, this is a majority. So after a6, a5, queen d8, and bishop e2. So what we have achieved, what Mark Hebden had achieved, is b5 will be always answered with e takes b6. 1 pawn is controlling 2 pawns. This is a fantastic and simple chess idea. Bishop d7, queen d2, rook c8, rook f e1, e6, and bishop h6. It's normal to try to exchange these bishops to leave the king a little bit weakened. Bishop takes h6, queen takes h6, knight e8. The knight is getting redirected to the queen side. Bishop d3, queen f6, queen e3, knight d6, and here we can see what his idea was. And this resembles pretty much the game played by Ding Liren and Nepomniachtchi, the 6th game, the 6th game, that I have a video about it. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you see this game, because it's really similar to this structure. It's the same structure, but really similar to this position. Okay, after bishop takes a4, he doesn't want to see the knight on c5. So bishop takes, rook c6, c3, rook fc8, and rook b4. Similar, really similar to Ding's Nepo. And rook c8 and queen g3. I guess the position is equal, but white has some ideas to keep pressing. I wouldn't be surprised if black can win the game as well once in a while, but it looks a little bit easier for white. h3, check, queen f6. He doesn't want to trade, and he doesn't want to repeat. He plays h4 instead of checking and making the triple repetition and drawing the game. He wants to keep playing for a win, and he plays h4. Perhaps h5 was better, but this can be weak, and I don't know if rook e5 threatening rook takes h5 would be awkward for black. I don't know. He prefers to replace the knights and reposition it on f6, h5, knight f6, bringing the knight to the defense of the king, queen e5, king g8. It seems he likes to play this, and he fears h6. So, and okay, he prefers to unpin the knight, h6, and this is really nice because the pawn reaching h6 is a really strong pawn that gives us all the time these mating threats and forces black to play passively and to weaken. After bishop c2, the idea is clear. He wants to play bishop a4 and taking the knight on e8, sorry, rook d6, bishop a4, and f6. There is nothing else black can do to, of course he can come back, but this seems really, I don't know, it looks dangerous for me. So he prefers to play f6, but in a way this is a complete success from white. So black's position, because the black's king is weakened. And king f7, g4, g5, he keeps pushing f5 and king f1. The idea might be to play queen e5 without allowing this with check. So king f1, rook d8, and as I said, queen e5. Now, as this is not check, this would have been a blunder because of bishop takes, and rook e8, queen g7, and king g8, queen c7, simply. So, king g8, rook b6, the rook joins the party, knight d6, and bishop b3. Okay, well, white has got a fantastic pressure over e6, and this seems to be very, very bad for black. But the game continued, queen d7, and Hebden decided to get an ending. Queen takes e6, rook takes e6, knight e4, and okay, black is a pawn down and is under pressure, so he must be lost. Rook e5, f4, everything is protected, and it will take time, but Hebden is completely winning. He is clearly lost. He's a couple of pawns down. So it's a nice strategical battle, a nice strategical triumph by Mark Hebden, who is the absolute specialist in the Barry attack. So as we have seen, the Barry is a multifaceted opening. In some games we simple castle and bring our pieces to normal positions, but in others, as the game we've seen in the first video, we play knight a5, bishop e2, h4, h5, and we go all in the king side to attack our opponent's king. In the next video about the Barry, I'll show you a dynamic approach based on the capture of the c5 pawn. When they play c5, instead of castling or playing knight a5, I'm going to explain you the ideas of d takes c5. But this will be in the next video. So let's keep in touch and see you next time.